Hello, I'm Edwina Crouch-Pears, and once again, we're interviewing a liberal arts major. With us today we have Deb Kelly. Deb, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, Edwina.
In your house.
Well, inviting me to participate in your interviews.
Quite so, yes, thank you. Thank you for agreeing to participate. So what was your major in college?
Literature.
Mm-hmm. And why did you choose that major?
Let's see, I chose it because I was going through my general education classes and I just loved the books I was reading. And I couldn't believe I was getting paid because I had grants and scholarship, that I was getting paid to read books and write papers. It was just amazing to me that was something I got to do. And I thought about the math path, but I have 3 kids and I was going to school full time with 3 children as a single mom. And the math path, because I was a late starter in college, would have been much, much longer. So it was a combination of a love of all the books I was reading and writing papers, and that a science math track would have taken me more years than I probably would have been practical in my situation.
Right. Sure, yeah. So what are you doing with your major in your life right now, and how has it helped you?
It helped me tremendously. I can't believe how much liberal arts helped me. My dad used to tell me I was majoring in unemployment because I didn't have any focus. But I had very poor writing skills. I had very poor presentation skills. And through going through the college process, everything from standing in lines to filling out applications to actually doing the schoolwork, all kind of prepared me for getting a job that could support 3 children.
Right.
And that was my goal. By the end of it, I wanted to be able to get a job. In the process, I just loved what I was learning. It was just so much fun. And I used to tell myself, I see all these empty chairs on the classrooms, especially the big classrooms where there was tons of kids that were supposed to be there. And there'd be all these empty chairs. I thought, okay, when I'm done with school, I'm going to sit in all those empty chairs and take care of that paid tuition. And as of yet, I've never done that. But I thought, well, maybe when I really retire, I'll sit in those empty chairs.
There you go.
Anyway, so how it helped me is writing skills, bureaucracy, how to structure my thought, critical thinking. And a lot of that was because I grew up in a home we didn't have any college graduates in my house. So there weren't tons of books in my house.
Right.
There was not talks about what's on in the news or anything like that. It was different. It was very action oriented, very productivity oriented. We did work together. We played together. But there wasn't a lot of talking about ideas. Although there was the church ideas, so we were Catholic, so there was plenty of talk about that. So anyway, when I went to college, I met a whole group of people that wanted to talk about ideas all the time.
Nice.
I loved it. I felt like I was on, I don't know, a form of crack cocaine. Wow.
I
was like, oh my gosh, people talk and read and express their thoughts about things all the time. And I was journaling during that time, and I'd be talking about, I had a soapbox day where I actually got up and talked to people about things that I thought was important. It was really a transformative experience for me.
It really sounds like it. I mean, I can still hear your enthusiasm today.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
There's a fantastic book called Breadgivers. And there's a scene in the book where she's holding her books to her heart, and she's had a really hard life, relationships and pressures of being a female going to school in a Jewish situation she wasn't getting the kind of support she needed. But the books were her friends. They were like her family, and that's kind of how I felt about my college experience.
Okay, you've already sort of answered this, but I'll ask it anyway. What did you have in mind that you wanted to do with your major when you went to college?
Well, I hoped that just having the degree would help me to break down some doors. Yeah. Before I went to college, I was working in a warehouse. It was like Costco. It was called Price Savers. And I was fairly new as a single person, and it was one of my first full-time jobs. And in a very short period of time, they had me being in charge of people. But they wouldn't let me be full-on in charge. So I was able to get supervisor level, but never manager level. And they told me they would put me on a 2-year training track where I'd have to work every single shift in every single department to become manager. Meanwhile, these guys, mostly men, were coming into the store, and I was training them to be my boss.
Right.
And I thought, okay, they don't have any experience. They're younger than me. They haven't all I've done is gone to college. I thought, okay, this might be a smart idea.
Yeah.
Maybe I should go to college and skip some of this brute force work that my family does to get things done.
Right, yeah. That's pretty smart.
I had help.
Sure.
Lots of people told me that, and at the time, there was lots of opportunities available for women. There were aid for families with dependent children. They didn't put a restriction for how long you could actually be on aid. So they don't, nowadays I guess they try to get you into a 2-year program where you can be a dental hygienist or something like that, which you can make a decent income, but I made a much better income with a 4-year degree going into the corporate world like I did. Much better.
Yeah.
And so for me, from a fiduciary point of view, it was much better for me to, and for the government too, to invest in me and allow me to get a 4-year degree.
Yeah.
And I thought about even going longer because I loved it so much. But the idea of spending more money to specialize where I wanted to specialize would have seemed kind of, I don't know, a little bit foolish.
What area did you want to specialize in?
So I just love utopias and dystopias.
Oh, right.
And so I wanted to read more in lots of different areas, religion, politics, literature, and talk about how those themes are woven into our culture, and teach classes about that so that people could kind of see how prevalent and the whole idea of paradigms and the paradigm that we live in. There's this idea of progression that's part of our culture. And I guess I live it. That's the way I've lived. I thought, okay, I've been a little girl, I'm a woman, I'm a business person, I'm a partner. So this idea of progressing through life, I guess in some ways is natural because it's chronological.
Right.
But there might be another way of doing it. And so I thought that'd be fun to discover, what is outside of utopias and dystopias.
Right.
And how else could we move through our life besides linearly, chronologically.
That's pretty interesting.
It would have been really interesting. But the people that I knew that do that kind of work, it's so focused.
Sure.
And my interest areas, because of my background of working hard and liking to do lots of things, I just couldn't see myself spending all of my time reading about that and writing about that and worrying about getting published and raising a family at the same time. It just seemed like it seemed too much and kind of silly.
I don't know if it'd be silly, but it definitely takes a certain mindset to do that, I think. And
I don't mean to say that people that do that are silly. I mean, in my situation, it seemed.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Actually, admire people that actually have that kind of focus and dedication and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. What would you still like to do with your major?
Well, it's funny. I this summer, I've been on a sabbatical for this last year.
Indeed.
So James and I went from one end of the bookcase to the other in all the bookcases in our room, and then we slowly got rid of books that we hadn't read, and I finally got rid of most of my literature books.
Oh my gosh!
And it turns out, while I liked studying Shakespeare, and while I liked studying third world culture novels, there were very few I actually wanted to read again.
Isn't that interesting? Yes, I don't think you're alone in that.
And I think part of it is, too, that reading becomes more of an escape or a tool. So the books I ended up keeping were those ones that were like, to my heart, my best friends. And so I kept those. So like there are some literature books I kept. My Russian literature books I really loved. So there's a handful of those I kept. And I kept some Virginia Woolf, but not all. I kept, you know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
I kept what I loved.
Right.
I kept what I found still useful, and then I let go of everything else. And I've been very happy about that.
That's good, yeah.
Less stuff.
Yeah, that's good. You can always find it again.
So I guess the thing I'm still using with my literature degree, of course, is my critical thinking skills. So if a problem comes up, the way I go about looking at the internet for things, I think I can see the difference, like when I'm working with people that haven't had that type of training. They're, let's see how to describe it. It seems like they're more instinctive about it, and less directed in purpose in the way they search, and they get frustrated because they don't hit what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And so all that time in the library going through stacks and the card catalogs transfers to searching on the web.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so that part, of course, I've still used. And then in my work, when I was working at Seagate as a project manager and as a pricing manager and as a marketing manager and as an analyst, definitely those skills of how to think about a problem, how to think about where the base of the problem is, and how to build facts around a problem and present your idea definitely help me.
Yeah. And are there things, projects, or things that you want to do in the future that relate to your degree? Like, do you want to go back at some point and do the utopias and dystopias, or is there anything else you would like to do?
I think I want to go back and sit in those empty seats.
Yeah.
I really like being a student. And then also the internet's amazing right now. You can take all kinds of classes for free.
Yeah, it's really great.
So I guess I like the process of being a student and having a subject matter expert share their knowledge. The people that took the time to focus like that I didn't do.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and I would like to do that more for fun. Maybe not with any goal in mind. Where my education before was so goal oriented.
Right. Yeah.
And I guess once you have it, once you've really taken education on, it's with you forever.
Right.
So it's not. I can't really not use it.
That's true. That's a really good point. Actually, I like that.
And I've loved that I've had it. I mean, I really, seriously, totally changed my life.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love seeing the enthusiasm that you have. That's really great. And that sort of brings me to the next question, which I don't think will quite apply to you. I can tell that you're glad you have the background that you do, but is there any other path that you wish you had chosen, and a different degree you wish you had taken? Or
now you can be on film, but we do not want to see your cat. But do we?
What a little ham is the word I'm looking for. Hi, little ham cat. You need to go down. Yes. Here you go.
So what was the question again?
Is there some other path that you wish you had chosen in terms of a different degree, or
the science and the math.
Yeah.
I was always told I wasn't smart enough for that going through school, and I was in. I think I mentioned this before. I was in remedial classes growing up, so I didn't learn to read till I was in 4th grade. In kindergarten, I even had problems in kindergarten because I didn't know how to cut, because my mom had these 2 monster children that are my siblings, and they would write on the walls and they'd cut up things, so she was afraid to have anything out, and she felt so bad when the kindergarten teacher thought maybe there was something developmentally wrong with me. so you know, I still don't draw very well, but I can cut.
Yeah, but you can use scissors with the best of them, and clearly you can read. So.
I can read, I can cut, And so anyway, the math thing, I was so surprised that I actually was good at it. So when I went to college, I wasn't struggling through algebra. It was so much fun. Algebra was so much fun. Solving for x. And x plus y and solving. I just loved it. It was just so much fun. And I thought it was applicable to more than just algebra. The whole idea of solving for the x's in your life. And I got all metaphysical about it. I just thought it was fantastic. And by the time I was done with it, they actually asked me to tutor algebra.
Oh, wow.
So, the dummy kid was teaching everybody else, which probably was because I could be understanding it, empathetic while you're struggling with concepts.
I'm sure that helps. Yeah.
So if I was going to do it again, there is a part of me that wants to take more math and more science because it's just so fun and so cool, and I don't have any of the hang-ups I had when I was going to school before. I don't think I can't do it, or not surprising myself anymore when I can figure something out.
Oh, that's so interesting. I think a lot of times when people say, I wish I'd studied something else, it's for more practical reasons rather than, I wish I'd done more science because it's fun. I think that's so great to hear.
Yeah, it really, really was. And I could only take my biology class, and that was my lab, and I took astronomy. Anyway, I only got to take 2 science classes. That was it. And I've never had physics in my whole entire life. I've never had physics. And I think physics is a real good basic thing that everybody should have. Because the components of how things work seems to be something that everybody knows who's gone to college.
Mm-hmm.
And people like me who haven't, it seems like it's a missing piece on how things work.
Right, yeah. What would you say is the value of a liberal arts education, especially in the 21st century?
Well, creating more well-rounded critical thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's when people say that they're wasting their time doing general education, and I have some nephews that are saying that, I just love to send them little Facebook messages and emails and articles and let them know how they're not wasting their time. They know they want to be engineers, but they will be so much better engineers with having that other information behind them.
Yeah.
And also, you never know. After you've taken all of those general education classes, you might find that you have an affinity in an area that you never thought you were going to have.
Right.
I mean, my nephews are a good example. Their father is an engineer. He was a late bloomer going to college too.
Mm-hmm.
He got his engineering degree much, much later in life, and so he's really pushing his kids to get a college education, and specifically an engineering education. And I think that's really where their bent is anyway. But who knows?
Right. That's true.
What if they're a poet? What if there's poets inside those boys?
Right.
What if there's an architect in those boys?
Right.
You don't know until you have that opportunity to explore.
Well, they're lucky they have an aunt like you.
A Podensky aunt.
Well, there's that aspect. But somebody who encourages exploration and being well-rounded. So.
Yes. Yeah. So I think, I wish everybody had the opportunity. I guess the other thing would be, if you're not in the space to go, wait and go later. And I know a lot of parents are afraid to do that because they think if they don't make their kids go, they won't do it.
Right.
And there's some truth to that. If you don't get that opportunity right when you're young to walk into the workforce with that experience, you are going to be a little bit farther behind if that's the path you choose to go.
Right.
But the educational experience can be so rich, and so many of those kids are just barely
Yes.
They think it's an opportunity to party and socialize, or they hate it. And what a shame to spend all that money to do something you hate for 4 years. Why not wait till it's something you really want to do, you see value in.
Yeah.
And I wish our culture was set up a little bit better to provide opportunities for people who do not want to go to college and that do want to do something more physical maybe with their life, or something more something less booky.
Right, sure. And finally, is there anything else, any other thoughts about liberal arts education degrees that you would like to add?
Well, I know that a lot of people probably don't get into liberal arts like I do. I don't know how the other interviews went.
No one has had quite the enthusiasm you have, and I must say it's exciting and refreshing to see.
And I think part of it is its background. So a lot of my friends will say their parents didn't help them. But I don't think they realize what a help it is to have parents that are well-read. And part of their vocabulary and part of the way they're talking to you, or having a stack of books on their nightstand. If there's a problem, they pull way back when we were kids, the encyclopedias off the shelf. Those kinds of parents gave children a gift that a lot of my peers I don't think recognize. And those gifts make college an option that you think about on a regular basis.
Right.
It's something you don't wonder if you're the college type. And so I guess I would say, it's a kind of a privilege to be brought up that way, and that it'd be nice if people could recognize that privilege and kind of be grateful for it, because not everybody gets it.
Sure.
And it's not just not everybody gets to go to college. Not everybody even has the mindset to think it's possible.
Right, yeah. And
it's really a rich, rich, rich experience that so few get to experience. And so I guess I would just say part of the reason I'm so excited about it is I really didn't think I was a college type, and it changed my life.
That is fantastic. I have nothing I could possibly add to this.
That's why I wanted to go ahead and do the interview with you, because it really, I don't think everybody feels about college like I do.
Right. No, I think that's true. Yeah. Wow. Well, I really appreciate you being on the show and sharing your enthusiasm and your experience with us.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me.
All right. That is the meat.